Hey, I'm Chief Barlow, and I'm an Apache pilot, and this is my story with the Utah National Guard. The year that I enlisted into the National Guard was 2013. I enlisted in December of 2013, and I enlisted as a 92 Yankee Unit Supply Specialist. And my job was to issue out supplies for the unit and to keep track of all of the sensitive items for the unit. I stayed on the enlisted side for about 8 years, so I enlisted in December of 2013, and then I went through Warrant Officer Candidate School in June of 2021. My goal when I enlisted into the National Guard was to eventually become a pilot. I liked the enlisted side for a little bit, and then, kind of got sidetracked while I was enlisted, just enjoying my time being enlisted, and then started working towards my career goal of becoming a warrant officer and an Apache pilot. To begin the process, I reached out to the warrant officer strength manager in the state at the time, and I got the packet for the flight board that they do. They conduct those twice a year, and so I built my application packet and I went and did an interview. I didn't get picked up the first time. It was actually ended up being the third time that I got picked up doing that process. So it took me about a year and a half, 2 years to go through that process. And then once I was selected in November of 2020. And then I went through Warrant Officer Candidate School in June of 2021. It's 5 weeks long down at Fort Rucker, Alabama. And then I was down there for flight school for 19 months. So I came back in December of 2022. So I went through WOBIC, which is our Warrant Officer Basic course, a Part A or Part 1, which was 3 weeks long. And then I went through SEER School, which is the Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape School. That's 3 weeks. And then I went through the Common Core with the Lakota, the UH-72, which was about 6 months long. And then after that, I went through the actual Apache course, which was another 6 months long. And then I went through WOBIC Part B, which was 3 weeks, and that was my graduation date in December. And then I came back to the unit, and I've been flying there since December of 2022. So the difference between a Black Hawk pilot and an Apache pilot, the Black Hawk is more of a utility helicopter. So they can carry troops in the back, up to 11. And then they have crew chiefs with them as well. So the Black Hawk pilots are trained in, air assaults, which is carrying those soldiers into a combat zone. They can also do sling loads, where they carry equipment or vehicles wherever they need to be moved. They can also do firefighting, whereas the Apache is an attack helicopter, and its main goal is combat and either protecting the troops on the ground or going out and destroying targets. So there's only space for the 2 crew members, the pilot and the co-pilot gunner. And their job is to just protect the soldiers on the ground with their weapons, the 30 millimeter, the 2.75 inch rockets, and then the Hellfire missiles. I think a lot of people want to become a pilot, but they don't necessarily understand the work that goes into it on the back end. Being in the National Guard, we still have the same flight minimums as active duty does. So as an Apache pilot, I have to get 70 flight hours every 6 months, which requires me to do more than just my regular drill weekends and my annual training. So I have to fly about once a week, and you have to work that into your regular civilian job or your full-time National Guard job to be able to meet your minimums every 6 months. And there's a lot of studying, and there's a lot of staying in the books with the publications that you have that's done really on your own time. And you have to kind of build those study habits and be able to work through that. And a lot of people just try to get to that point of becoming a pilot, and then they don't necessarily realize what the back end of actually being a pilot is. My advice would be to enlist into a job out in aviation, whether it's a fueler, maintenance, whatever jobs are out there. Get to know what the drill schedule is like and what their operational tempo is, because it's pretty fast-paced and there's a lot of flight missions that do happen. And then you really understand kind of what the unit's doing at the enlisted level, and then you get to be around those pilots as well, so you can ask them questions about what it's like to be a pilot and get to know them. I think that finding yourself a good mentor if you want to become a pilot, whether it's a commissioned officer or a warrant officer that's a pilot, really helps out. I had a couple of great mentors that helped me through that process, and it really helped out, getting to know them and what the process is like and what it really takes to become a pilot, not just the paperwork of getting to that point of going to the school and everything, just what it is like on the back end. So finding a good mentor, if you can, is a great way to help yourself out and get to know what the process is really like.